Welcome to the Character Sheet, comicbook.com's official fantasy and tabletop YouTube page. I am Christian Hoffer, and I am joined once again by Damien Haas, the
Hello.
DM of Sword AF on Smosh Games. Episode 2 of Sword AF just came out. Today, if you're watching that, well, it won't be today when this gets posted, but it just came out a few hours ago for us back in the past times. And it's another great episode. So we're gonna, talk some more about it. And, we figured that, now that Sword AF has really just become the breakout tabletop RPG hit of the summer, we'd get a little bit more of Damien's thoughts on things.
I think about things all the time. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, well, thank you once again for coming on. Let's chat a little bit about Sword AF's second episode, and we got a little bit more of a look into the bullywogs. I always say them wrong. The frog people.
Bullywugs. I think there's a U for both of them.
I should probably know that because I've thrown a lot of those into my my games over the years. But
you don't have every monster memorized?
I don't, and I'm terrible at pronouncing things. So, but one of the interesting things is there seemed to be a little bit of a centaur and bullywog mixed creature romance stuff kind of getting hinted at a little bit. There seemed to be, a lot of frogs were hitting on the party members during the episode 2.
Got it.
So yeah. Let's start off with just a relatively straightforward question. How do you handle romances at your table?
I guess we're going to have to see how that goes, but I know that, there's only a couple of I don't want to get too much into specifics for the characters until things are revealed in game, but romance is probably going to come up. And when you think about someone like Delores, who is a halfling, who, they're very charismatic and affable and they kind of get along with everybody.
Yeah.
I thought it might be kind of fun because she's an older woman to what if she does just have this je ne sais quoi and people are like, there's kind of something about you. And I kind of followed Amanda's lead on that because I think it was Gunthar, the centaur, when I just described how he looked and Amanda was like, oh my God, oh goodness. I'm like, this is fun. We're going to pull this thread. So that'll probably be the first way we explore it. And beyond that, we'll just have to see. I trust the cast enough to sort of let them lead a bit and then we'll follow through.
Before the campaign started, did you talk to them at all about the prospect of romance, or did you have the chat about the lines and veils, I believe is what the tabletop RPG phrase was, but kind of talking about what everyone is comfortable with. I mean, you guys are a bunch of improv people and you've known each other for a while, but did you have any sort of chats like that?
Yeah, I'll say this. I sat down with each individual cast member and had these sort of final touch base conversations before we filmed our first episode, and we didn't flesh out every single little thing. I want there to be stuff that's discovered. I want people to warm into their character as they go and then come up with this cool new idea. But the topic of romance did come up. I'll just say that, not for everybody, but for some people, and we sort of fleshed out what that looks like. I think at our table, because we've been working together for so long, even if it's not D&D, we tend to know each other's boundaries. And I also don't think this is the kind of thing where we would have to worry about anybody skewing so far off of the storyline that is naturally coming forward that they would just be like, I want to go to the bar and see if I can hook up with a bunch of women. And then you're, left going okay, yeah, that kind of is on the quest. Sure, let's do it. We're not really going to have to worry about that so much. I think really, as long as it lends to the story, character development of Delores and who she is and being I haven't been touched in years. That's funny, but it also tells you a lot about her. So yeah.
Okay. So in the latest episode, there was kind of a pretty big spot in the story where, it seemed like the characters had two choices. They could have, delivered their package and just, gone about their business, or, and kind of left, and that would have left the frog folk to
do their thing.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Or what the party ended up going and doing and sticking around and having the plot play out. So did you have story ideas in case the parties went one way or another, or were you kind of okay, I'm going to find ways to keep them in the Frog Village.
Sure. What you're seeing now in episode 2, episode 1 and episode 2 are filmed together. If you couldn't tell by our clothing. So that was still me DMing a game for the first time other than our session 0. So, I prepared a fair amount and really came up with a lot of contingency plans. One thing that I did over these months was, I had a thought of an arc that could happen for a season and different places that they could visit. And I sort of thought about it like, okay, if they decide to take this route, then maybe this will happen. If they take this route, then maybe this will happen. So, we've sort of got these branching trees. And then I got down into the nitty gritty of like a specific encounter and what that looks like. So, I don't have a concrete thing that they have to stick to. I do have suggestions that come through in the story, and however they want to deal with that is up to them. And in fact, I just got off the phone with Chance, who plays Koda. In preparation for our next batch of filming, I have given everyone a lot more like free reign, where I'm like, okay, now we're comfortable and warmer with these characters. Play as your class, do whatever you want. You're Fernie. You have access to there's a vine winch, I think it is, in your chest. Use it. Use it to twirl around Koda and fly Koda somewhere. Or if you can't describe a map very well, use leaves to sort of weave together and show the path. You're a druid. It's nature magic. So really, I just want them to use their best creative minds, and whatever happens. It's trust.
Just kind of a side question talking about that.
Sure.
How much do you and the cast talk about the game outside of the game? That's something I'm always curious about with kind of the the produced APs is I know with my D&D parties, there's times that we talk about a lot,
Sure.
And then there will be times where it's okay, it's Friday, here are the 2 hours that we're doing this. So are you guys talking constantly back and forth about this campaign?
It depends, because some of our cast members aren't in the office all the time, and so I don't want to, they're professional actors, they're doing their own thing. I don't want to take up too much of their time. When we do talk about things, it's not here's what's going to happen in the story. That's still private. It's more about not even really notes, but just suggestions, because I end up watching this footage so much and spending so much time writing these things out. I'll see a little nugget of information and be like, ooh, I want to check in on that. So example, like I said, just got off the phone with Chance. There's something that he's been doing as a character for the past couple of episodes. And, don't want to make too specific of a reference to it because maybe we'll pay it off. But I mentioned to him hey, I noticed you've been doing this thing. Do you have a reason you're doing that? And you have something in mind already that you want to deal with? Or do you want to flesh that out together? And he's like, well, I was thinking it's kind of like this. I'm like, are you comfortable if it's actually this a little bit? And it's oh my God, yeah, that's a great idea. It's great. So as long as we both have the information of what is underlying, then maybe we can pay it off, or maybe it doesn't come up. We don't have to shoehorn it in. Same with Shane sits at the office, who plays Fernie. We're back to back. And so he'll just be hey, so I was thinking about Fernie. What if he did da 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 da? And I'm like, love it. And I might build in an opportunity for him to show that off. But beyond that, not a lot of pre-planning, just preparation as improvisers, I guess.
Okay.
Knowing the game. Yeah.
So what's been, talking about Koda a little bit, we got in the latest episode, we saw him put the singer into Blade Singer, which, I thought that was a cool twist. I've played with more than my fair share of Blade Singer characters.
Okay.
And I've never really seen them emphasize. It's always the blade that they emphasize, never the singer part.
It's never the singing. No.
Yeah, go figure. So, what's been the biggest surprise in during that first session, episodes 1 and 2, what was the biggest surprise in terms of character moments for you as a DM?
Oh man, I think what has been really fun to watch play out is Chance, Koda, is the one at our table with the most D&D experience. Plays a weekly, bi-weekly campaign on the weekends. And it's been going on for a couple years. So he really knows what he's doing. So it's interesting to watch him as a foil to these other characters that are really goofy. Chance is an immensely talented improviser, excellent singer, tour de force. And so we get to sort of watch him play D&D while these other improvisers are making more goofy choices, not knowing the game as well. So art sort of imitates life there, whereas Koda is like this brooding, like he's like 100 as an Eladrin, so 19 human years. He's like brooding. He's very much wanting to do his own thing, and these guys are like, let's have some fun, let's have mud baths, and he's like, I want to find someone to fight. Like he's the Sasuke, he's the Zuko. Like he's really trying to, like, tell me I'm wrong.
No, I didn't even put 2 and 2 together. Oh, right? I love it.
He's broody anime boy. And so it's almost like Koda is doing an entirely different game, but that's what Koda would be doing.
Yeah.
Because he's just like rubbing his temples, being like, I have to deal with this. Like he's the one that's like, you know, I want to talk to Garland. I want to get to the bottom of what's going on in this town. And it's so fun to watch that play out. So these other characters are like, wait, what's going on? And he's just like, no, I have all this information. We have to be heroes. So I think that's been really cool. Also, just like watching everybody, like, I don't plan out a lot of these NPCs. Like something like Garland, I do. Something like Rumpum, I do. Tungo, if you haven't seen the episode yet, he's the one that's like, you know, he's on a massage bed the entire time. Like, didn't plan Tungo. No plans for Tungo. And Tungo is the one they talk to the most. And I do that because, like, this cast is so good at taking these NPCs and just immediately accepting, like, they are real. Like, I want to know more about them. You know, what can you teach me? How do you feel about this? And in the moment, I'm like, oh, I feel really strong about it. Yeah. And, you know, just sort of have to pull it out of thin air. But like, there's so much trust between us that I don't feel nervous about that.
So I have to ask, speaking of the frogs,
yes.
How many frog titles did you have? Like, you know, did you have like a piece of paper? Like, I have a problem with like my NPC names, where it's like I very quickly run out of NPC names unless like I prep in advance. So I keep it like a piece of paper with like a dozen NPCs, and I just like cross them off as I go down the list.
That's a good idea. I'm gonna probably start doing that now.
I was gonna ask, did you like have a database of like, okay, here are the frog titles that I've got in my back pocket in case they really go down this route?
No frog titles, no frog names. I had Garland. Didn't have his title. I was like, that's Garland. He's the leader. And I had Rumpum. And I was like, he's the guy at the front gates. Like, didn't come up with his title even. So it was funny because once I got through it, like there is a moment in the episode where I'm just like, oh, I, you know, screwed up the voice. Oh, I talk like this actually. And there's another time where I think I end up saying someone's name and it's someone else's name. But other than that, I was just like, whoo, I got through it. And then when the episode is done, I just had this moment of like, I didn't write any of those down. We're still in the village and I didn't write any of those down. And I was like, can I get access to the footage as soon as possible? And, you know, lesson learned, but like, yeah, it was all just out of thin air in the moment. Voice, character, everything.
Yeah, that's like, you know, that's gotta be an advantage to like actually filming your sessions, is that you get instant replay in a way that, you know, other D&D sessions, you know, don't usually get. You know, it's like, you know, Critical Role, they have like, you know, multiple lore keepers. Like they have people.
I've actually I've met one or two. They're very nice.
Yeah. Oh yeah, Danny Carr.
Yeah, Danny's super nice.
Yeah, she's the best. Yeah, no, but it's like they hire multiple people whose job it is just to remember all of this stuff. They literally, like, it's pretty freaking cool. You know, that's pretty neat. I will admit, you know, I'm giving you props right now as a DM. Like, you know, I definitely thought you went into like Frog Village. Like I got this. Here's my frog NPCs. We're freaking doing this. And I you know, there's a couple times I'm like, maybe there's a bit of improv going on there, but I definitely thought it's like you have an entire frog village in your notes, sir.
Thank you. I mean, I appreciate that a lot. Thank you. I mean, it definitely gives you a level of respect for, like, you know, the places that have lore keepers and a lot to keep track of. Because I was like, yeah, I'll just do it in the moment, and you know, it kind of bit me in the butt. But I've always been a very like fly by the seat of my pants kind of person. Like even with major auditions, when they're like, you know, back in the day when I was an on-camera actor, they'd be like, come up with 3 characters. I'll be like, I'll do it in the moment. Like I'll figure it out. And that's when I tend to do better. So this is the most I've ever sat down and written anything. And so even that amount, I'm just like, okay, I'll fill in the blanks. Who knows? Who knows if that'll bite me in the butt later? I will say Garland was a planned name only as a joke. There's another Smosh video where we did 2 truths, 1 lie. You know, if you end up guessing the other person's lie wrong, you get sprayed with water. And in the most recent one I was in, one of my lies was, you know, my parents almost named me Garland, Wolfgang, and Hector, you know, or something like that. And Angela goes, Garland. And I'm like, it's a name. Garland is a name. And she's like, Garland? And so that's why in that episode, I'm like, my name is Garland. It's a name. And I think it was too far removed because nobody recognized it. And that's okay. But like, that's where I'm getting my names from. It's a little like to my cast, and that's it.
Hey, inside jokes, that is like a fundamental part of tabletop RPGs.
I think so.
So a couple of just more general questions.
Sure.
You know, with Koda being the Broody McBruderson of the bunch, do you have any like contingencies for PvP? Is that something that you encourage, discourage? You know, off limits? You know, let it ride?
You know, we haven't fully talked about it yet. But again, I am happy to adapt to whatever the players naturally feel like doing. And I also think that when things start to come to a head, if characters start fighting each other or being uncomfortable around each other, it's not going to be out of left field because we're doing things very intentionally storyline wise. We won't be like, okay, y'all have to fight this episode. Let's figure it out. And you know, if someone walks in deciding that they're going to fight Bug or something like that, I just think it's not going to take anybody at the table by surprise if it happens. And that includes me. Like, and if they have to fight, you know, they will. And I'm assuming we're not going to let them die. Like, a crappy thing to have your character killed off at least by another character at the table 3 episodes in. You know?
As long as their stuff gets carried over to the next character, that's the most important thing.
Sure.
That was like the big rule of PvP at my table. And my wife was actually the one who was like, "Listen, I don't care if someone stabs me, but you know, I want my next character to get all my stuff." And that was her main concern. It's like, I do not want all the accumulated junk that I have stripped off of dozens of characters.
Right.
You know,
I want all of those, you know, third knuckle skeleton bones that I've been keeping as a trophy. I hear that. No, I think one thing that I will add in more as we go is danger for the characters. You know, in the fights that we've had so far, there have been moments where like Delores got pretty messed up by a couple things. But beyond that, I do want them to feel more comfortable learning the game as they go, before I'm really like, you have to make some decisions here. So it will be interesting to see, you know, in a couple more rounds once they've learned a lot. It's funny. Sorry, we're seeing text in the bottom corner. You know, sorry, ADHD meds are wearing off for the day.
You're fine.
Where was I? We can cut this out, right?
No, absolutely. We'll go and put some like B-roll right here, and
just like really relaxing, like waterfalls. Like Damien is having a moment. You can't focus on 2 things.
You know, people actually do that. That's the problem there.
Oh, okay.
Anyways,
yeah. I think we'll add in like more danger, whether that's from the characters, whether that's from other enemies. I also think we're getting more time to film when we do have filming days because we are so generally busy, but we're seeing the audience reaction to D&D. We really want to put an emphasis on it and give it its fair shake.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
And that kind of leads to another good follow-up question. So, you know, I'm assuming that, you know, you didn't tell people like, oh, have your backup characters ready, but have people already come up to you and like, oh, you know, would this be a cool idea for like a new character for like the next Sword AF Part 2? I
haven't had specific character pitches yet, but there have been moments where people will pitch something about their character and then they'll be like, well, I guess that doesn't work. Maybe if we get another season, you know? So they're slowly learning like the concept of like, yeah, you can have another character. Like this doesn't have to end here, you know? And if there is another season, you know, hopefully, you know, who knows whether we continue on this story or whether there's, you know, a completely different setting or a different set of characters in this world. Like the sky's the limit. And I think for right now, I am open to all of it, you know? And similarly, I just want the cast to like explore and have fun. You know, I know it feels a little bit drawn out because we upload every other week and we film 2 episodes per time we film. So we've only filmed 2 batches of this now.
Oh, wow.
So like, yeah. So like, it's still so new to them. Like I want them to have hours and hours at the table together. And I'm excited to see what naturally comes out of that without the pressure of like expectation, I guess.
Well, and not to add more pressure and expectation on you,
Oh,
but
I'm fine. Go for it.
well, like episode 1, smash hit. We're I saw the early view count for episode 2. Seems like this thing's going to be sticking around to stay. Like what has been like the general like feeling at Smosh headquarters about this? Are you guys already like like making plans like, okay, we gotta like start doing the podcast. We need like the follow up, the talks Sword AF or something like that. Like time to start the live tour. Have you guys like really just like started to like plan out Sword AF land yet?
I think there's a lot of excitement at the office right now. In addition, because of like the return of Anthony and how how much things have changed. There's just good vibes all around. So I think without giving away things that I can't really talk about necessarily, there's a lot of belief in this right now. Walking into the office, like whether it's someone who works behind the scenes or someone who's like higher up in management, people are just like, hey, so like D&D, and there's just a lot of ideas being kicked around. So at the very least, there's excitement around D&D. There is like respect for the work that we're doing right now. And it feels like there's just a lot of opportunity. And I don't think anybody is, I think the best way to put it is nobody's like looking past it.
Okay. Okay. So speaking of kind of like the vibes in the office. So, now that you're the, the Smosh Games DM, of record, have you gotten like, pulled aside like, hey, have you ever like, like next time you guys are like playing like a D&D game on the weekends, can I hop in on that? Have you been getting that a lot?
I've been getting a lot of kindness from people in this space, a lot of people who play D&D professionally and somehow, they're related to performing online. Like a lot of people have reached out and said really nice things. So that's been really cool. But aside from that, there's already an ongoing D&D game at the office. Amongst a lot of the crew and some of the cast. I got so busy that I only went to the one and then couldn't go after that, as is what's more D&D than that?
Literally the most D&D thing I've ever heard of.
Most D&D thing you can do. But yeah, there's like an ongoing game. And also like I remember a few years back, maybe even like, this was before the pandemic even started. Still working at Smosh. My roommate at the time also was related to Smosh. And so I remember like coming downstairs one day and it was like 10 different crew members just right there, like all playing. And I'm just like, oh, you guys are playing a D&D game? That's pretty cool. Have fun. If you ever need a guest character, let me know. But it's definitely not a foreign concept at the office.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. I'm certainly not introducing new people to it because the crew's been doing it.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
No, it always seems like when it comes out that somebody actually knows how to run the game, like moths to a flame, because there's such an imbalance between people who know how to play and people who know how to run. And so get ready is what I'm saying. You're like you're gonna have like Joe Manganiello like calling you up and be like, hey, like I want you to run a game for me and all these high-powered A-list producers and stuff.
It's all be like one less job and I'm out.
Yeah.
Joe, who I haven't met. I think some people at the office know Joe.
Oh God.
I don't know.
No. I have nothing but positive things. Positive things to say about Joe Manganiello, who could literally crush my head, in between, with his bicep. No, it just scares me. That like there's that level of connection. It's like, oh God, it's like two steps from Joe Manganiello. Like he might hear his name in the ether and come and find me.
Yeah.
He's a Pittsburgh boy, so he's like one state over from me.
Nice.
So that's kind of the scary thing about that.
You just hear like, and it's just like at your window, like I came here from Pittsburgh.
Yeah.
I don't know anything about Joe, so I'm probably doing the wrong voice.
He's got a good gravelly voice. He's
okay.
He's got if you've ever heard the Pittsburgh accent, he still has a little bit of that. He hides it well because I think like that's what you have to do in Hollywood is you have to have that neutral, the
non-regional, like received English. The craziest thing is, this is a side thing, but like I was raised in Georgia, born in Germany, raised in Georgia. I always think I have the non-regional dialect, and then I do a lot of voice acting, and without fail, I will be in the booth, and they'll be like, "Can you say that again?" I'm like, "Yeah, here's the line," and they'll be like, You say that, where are you from? And I'm like, oh God, it's another one. So like, yeah, it's nothing puts you under a microscope like that.
Yeah, so I'm from Ohio, and
Okay.
apparently, like it's very specifically North and Central Ohio is like the ideal newscaster accent because there's a
Really?
lack of an accent, and it
Huh.
always throws people off when they're talking to me. When you get like linguistics people, and they're like,
Mhm.
"I can't place your accent." I'm like, "That's because you're not supposed to."
Yes.
Like like I'm like a hitman.
I'm neutral ice cream, no flavor, only milk. Like, oh.
That's a pretty good description.
Thank you. I think it's a very good metaphor. Thank you,
Yeah,
Christian.
yeah, yeah. So last question.
Sure.
Let's end this on a high note. Give us a tease for episode 3.
Episode 3. Ooh, okay. Episode 3. I haven't watched the footage back yet, but let's delve into the thoughts. Stuff hits the fan.
Mm-hmm.
They've made some friends in Grendel. They have made some enemies in Grendel. And they are trapped in a walled city. We're going to have to see how that plays out. On top of that, they've got jobs to do. So
Okay.
I don't know how much to tease because I'm just like,
No. I mean, you just made it sound like they're the party's about to step into the kill box. I like it.
I don't know.
Okay.
But in 2 weeks, you will. So
yeah. Before I let you go, people who watch our channel specifically might, see you in a couple of weeks when you come to Gen Con. Do you want to talk a little bit about that?
yeah, that'll be great. Also, before I do that, because that's your thing and we're not going to forget, I do want to shout out the art that I'm using in the background.
Oh, yeah.
Because I want to support our artists. This is from a very talented person named Odd Jacobson. Their Instagram handle is Oddeum, Oddeum, and this is the city of Grendel. And I swear to you, this is how I envisioned it. I gave like a 1-paragraph blurb, and they were just like, "Here you go." Incredibly talented. So thank you,
I
Oddeum.
love the frog statues.
Mhm.
I was listening to the episode earlier today, and that
Okay.
line like stuck out to me. I'm like, oh, that's such a cool little detail, and I love that.
Thank you. I wanted there to be history built into the space, and you can sort of tell, like, was this even made by Bullywugs? Because this is intense compared to this, and this is modern. Okay, but and we got the animal husbandry with the flies.
Yeah.
But yeah, Gen Con. So it's funny because I'm working with a company called Six Sides of Gaming. They're doing a thing called Celebrity Side Quest. And so they hit me up to play D&D on stage. I think I'm going to be in 6 shows with them at Gen Con.
Holy smokes, man.
I'm sorry?
I said, holy
Oh,
smokes.
thank you. It's been a while since I've heard that phrase. I'm stealing that back. Holy smokes. But yeah, it's going to be a lot of fun. I know a handful of the people I'll be playing with, and other people are like friends of friends, so it'll be cool connections. But yeah, it happened all before Sword AF. There's someone who I'd played D&D with before briefly, and is a very talented DM, and he had like hit me up about doing this. And so because of that, I don't know if I was supposed to be a D&D player or like one of them. I hate the word like just because I do outside voiceover stuff. And so when this came out, I was like, ta-da, like it's a better fit than you thought. And yeah, it'll be really cool to be able to go to Gen Con for my first time, while also having this kind of direct connection to the space and being like, hi, I DM for a thing. And I still feel like I'm going to have plenty of imposter syndrome as a total newbie to the DM thing, but everybody's been so welcoming and nice that I've spoken to. Nobody's gate kept a single thing. So I'm stoked to be there and learn and, be respectful of the space and allow myself to be invited in if people want to. So, yeah.
Well, we're looking forward to seeing you there. And
Thank you.
so if you're at Gen Con, be sure to check that out. And be sure to check out Smosh Games too. I mean,
Thank you.
chances are you've already checked that out. But Sword AF, it is the tabletop actual play of the summer. So be sure to check it out. Yeah. And I'm sure we'll have you on again, Damien.
That'd be great.
It's been a blast.
Thank you so much for having me. It's funny because my middle name is Christian, so like Damien Christian Haas, and then you're Christian Hoffer. Like it kind of trips me up for a minute always.
Very
yeah, thanks. Please check out Smosh Games. If you've been watching this through an autoplay situation, I don't know. You may have no idea who I am, and you're trying to sleep, and it's 4 a.m. So I'm just gonna like influence you and be like, watch Sword AF. But thank you. I appreciate your time, Christian.
No, I appreciate your time. And I appreciate your times too. People who are watching this, and be sure to hit those like and subscribe buttons and do all the YouTube things so that the algorithm must be fed.
Yes.
Anyway.
Fatten the algorithm.
Yes. All hail the YouTube algorithm.
Yeah. Thanks for having me, my friend.
Yeah, thank you. And until next time.
Goodbye, Damien!